Hello, my name is Arabella. I'm holding a snake in my hands, and for the first time since 2023, you are listening to the Hoedown. Resurrected, we have a different name now. Alright, so for those of you who didn't know, from late high school to the freshman year of my college, I had a podcast that ran for roughly 6 seasons called the Hoedown. And this was a amalgamation of a talk show focused on Gen Z voices and wild ramblings of a madman and company. And this podcast, as zany and funny and sometimes controversial for some reason, as it was at that time, was important to me. It truly gave me a voice in a situation which I felt like I didn't have that freedom of expression and that confidence in sticking up for myself and those around me and expressing just the normal weird things that are on teenagers' minds. And before you say, but why did you decide to share it with thousands of people on the internet instead of just getting a diary? Answers, I had a diary. I don't know. The drama, I guess. But, this podcast ended in 2023 due to some personal circumstance between me and the former co-host, and also me moving to California and starting a new chapter in my life. I didn't want so many prying eyes on everything I was doing after being under this massive magnifying glass and having to live up to everyone's standards except my own for years before that. And now that I've settled in and I have created this new life that's aligned with my values and my passions and what I love doing, it feels like it's time to revisit that kind of like dusty concept that's been sitting in the back closet of my mind for a while and resurrect the Hoedown. Obviously, this is going to go a little differently than the first time around. First big change being it's just me and the snake that I'm fostering. Don't mind her, she's sweet. But there will not be a co-host. This is just going to be my little project. That is because I honestly am so relieved as a creator to not have to have the pressure of constant collaboration on everything and to not have to figure out how to do the workload and the guests and everything, coordinating between 2+ people rather than just me and what kind of drives me and inspires me in this moment. It's going to be a little more freeform. As you see, this is just going to be me talking about something, and there will be likely episodes like this. We're not always going to have a guest, and there still will be host-only episodes, except it's just one host now. But that's the biggest change. Second, you can see me now. Hi, I put on makeup, but only eyeshadow because the rest, everything's in my car from my performance bag from my show this weekend. Or last weekend? Last weekend. But now we have an audio-visual format. I plan to upload this to YouTube. Hopefully everything will go good on that. And the third change is it's going to age up with the audience. The original Hoedown was very constantly under scrutiny because I and the other co-hosts were also constantly under scrutiny. I was in a very repressive environment, whether that be school or some of the people I surrounded myself with, or even just the normal teenage angst against anything that vaguely looks like authority. But all that to say, now I'm an adult. I live in my own house with my husband, and really at this point in my life, I am too tired to worry about the judgment of other people on things that don't matter. So it's not going to be this like stressful thing of like, oh my gosh, I have to edit out every time someone says hell or golly gee garnet, like I can relax a little. I can let my hair down. It can be a little more freeform, a little more open, and we also can talk about topics that probably would not have been conducive to the environments that we were in at the time as guests and me as a host. So that's partially why for my introduction today, I am going to dive deep and do the Instagram-worthy thing of we're not really strangers. We're going to do the self-love deck because it's really, I guess, important to me because that's what this podcast really is getting resurrected for, is for so long I felt like everything I did with even my work was performative for other people, and now finally as a creative and also as the human behind the work, I am finally getting to tap into self-love, what I want to do, who I want to do it with, and where, why, how I feel that it needs to be executed. So that being said, I'm going to answer some questions from this deck. It's going to be a super low-key episode for the first one. But first, before we get into that, we have, I don't know why I sounded like that princess vibe. The Vine where it's like, oh God, not Vine, TikTok. I'm old. No! Sorry, I saw the Grim Reaper there for a minute. I saw a retirement home in my future. But anyways, we're going to get into kind of a topic that can be a little sensitive. Again, I put a timestamp and trigger warning in the description. You can skip over this part if you want. But I am going to be talking about our merch and where it goes. That's kind of cool about it. I have designed a new t-shirt. It comes in tank tops, crop tops, regular shirts. I think there's a hoodie, pullovers, and all of the proceeds go to the National Domestic Violence Hotline. As some of you may know, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and as a survivor of SA as well as DV, this website and the resources that come from it have been paramount in me realizing and processing all that has happened to me and my next steps. And it's been very empowering to have the support given to me by this and other resources. So I wanted to give back. Again, if we're focusing on like me, this is a part of it, is the things that made me for the better. And I'd like to just take a moment and read out the number as well as the text line. That way it is an available resource. Again, it'll be in the description, but I still feel it, it might be better to just be able to hear it. But the phone number is 1-800-799-7233. And you also can text BEGIN to 88788. Now, that being said, some of the warning signs of abuse to be aware of are things like telling you that you never do anything right, showing extreme jealousy of your friends or time spent away from them, preventing or discouraging you from spending time with others, particularly friends, family members, or peers, insulting, demeaning, or shaming you, especially in front of other people, preventing you from making your own decisions, including about working or attending school, controlling finances without discussion, pressuring you to have sex or perform sexual acts you are not comfortable with, pressuring you to use drugs or alcohol, intimidating you through threatening looks or actions, insulting your parenting or threatening to harm or take away your children or pets, intimidating you with or without weapons, and destroying your belongings or your home. Of course, these are just small instances and it's not comprehensive whatsoever, but if you are noticing those signs in any relationship, whether it be family, love, friendship, please be brave and take the steps needed to ensure your own safety and to protect yourself. I just want to let you know that those resources are out there, and this is one resource. It's not the end-all be-all of where you can go and what you can do. You're always free to reach out to any of my accounts, and I have no issue pointing you in the right direction for those kind of things. Whoa there, girl. That being said, on a much lighter note, let's dig into the actual questions after I take a little sippy. She thinks I'm a tree, I swear. For those of you listening, there is a massive ball python wrapped around me right now, which sounds like I'm lying, but I promise you this one time, there's actually a massive ball python wrapped around me. Okay, so these are divided into 3 levels. I'm going to do like 5, I think, from each would be fair, and it's past, present, and future. So let's just go into the past. What is the story of your birth? Oh, Lord. So I am a winter baby. I'm an Aquarius. I'm not going to give you my date of birth because that's PII, nerds. But I was born in a hospital across from the place I'll inevitably be buried and laid to rest, which is kind of funny. There is a place you can donate your body, and it helps that forensic science will advance, and it's right across from the hospital I was born at, literally like barely separated, which is crazy to me. So my parents were told that I would never exist, or if I did, I wouldn't live, all sorts of crazy stuff. So point being, my parents tried for years, and eventually I decided to become the happy little planned accident and grace them with my presence. And like, oh yeah, we're having our miracle baby, it's this whole beautiful process. And then they're like, hey, remember that thing about inducing labor? We're gonna do that, because guess what? your baby decided to arts and crafts a noose out of their umbilical cord. Welcome to the world. And I was delivered. I was a teeny little baby, and my father always talked about how they had to duct tape like the baby clothes they had like for the photos there to me because I was just like tiny. I literally looked like a shrimp at a Red Lobster, like just like sad and kind of curled in all of my baby photos until I like turned slightly cute when I was like past the toddler stage. So that's really the story of my birth. Nothing too interesting except for the fact that kind of beat the odds. And God knows I haven't stopped since. Okay, question number 2. What did you feel bad for at the time but are glad you did anyways? So this one is kind of, I guess, complex. I was in a prior relationship where domestic violence and sexual, mental, physical violence were commonplace. And this was a romantic connection I had. We were set to be legally committed to each other. And I had kind of been in this state where I was questioning like whether or not I should stay and if the things that I felt in my heart were wrong or if I was just being pretty much dramatic, because when you make so much of your world about one person's influence, then it doesn't feel like it. So I joined the military and I am kind of in this internal struggle, and I am on the range learning how to fire and operate a rifle. And the rifle coach is like, picture the person that you don't like the most right in that target. And it kind of hit me, like, I'm like positioned behind this rifle and I'm like, oh shit, like, why is the person I'm engaged to be married and like the person I'm like picturing, like, oh my God, like maybe I need to start listening to myself. And then it kind of hit me, like, I feel the same way that I would feel if I was standing in front of that target looking at the rest of my life. Like, I am looking down a barrel, and if I don't get out now, not only would things like infidelity possibly happen again or abuse, but it could also get worse, or it could be subjected to pets, children, the people that I choose to bring into my life. And it kind of hit me that I came all this way not because of spite or anger or, you know, being an opportunist junkie. It was truly because I wanted my own liberation and freedom, but I didn't have the words to express that at the time. And it was this even higher than the reasons that I've given in public. It was this internal thought of like, I want to be strong and I want to be free. And the military did provide that for me. So I felt really bad because like I had to call the priest, who was like a family friend. I had to call our mutual best man and be like, hey, I'm splitting up with this person. And yeah, it was just this big guilt because it was 3 years of my life and 3 very fundamental dynamic years of my life. But looking back, the relief I felt outnumbered any of the guilt that I felt in leaving that relationship. So I'm really glad I did it because, again, I never would have guessed it in August of 2023. But here I am playing with a foster snake with my lovely husband downstairs asleep after another day working at pretty much our dream jobs. And not only that, I'm pursuing art and education, and I feel so supportive in not only my romantic relationship, but also my family relationships, my friends that surround me, even like most of my community, I'd say. I feel very embraced by, and there's nothing that beats that feeling. So I'm glad I did that without really looking back. All right, next card. Who did you try to impress? How? Okay, so I'm gonna be real. I don't tend to like intentionally be like, oh, I want to riz someone up. For example, like my husband, like I didn't go into it being like, how can I act suave and demure? But I guess as far as trying to impress someone, I was at an event and one of the guys from 21 Jump Street were there. Mind you, this was before I'd seen the movie. This was like a year ago, and I hadn't seen 21 Jump Street, but I knew that like there was this guy and he looked so vaguely familiar, and he was talking and he's like, yeah, you know, I do movies, I do comedy, you might know me from there. And I'm like, huh, that's weird. I also have been in a movie once as a child, and you know, I make short films. Like I just think it's like some guy. Like, I'm not really, like, reading too into it, but I'm like, okay, we're at, like, a schmoozy networking event. I'm gonna, like, hype myself up a little bit and, like, try and float around this nice crowd of CEOs and generals and just, like, crazy wealthy people. And mind you, I'm, like, at this time, like, an E3 living in the barracks who's like, oh my god, I can afford Domino's pizza this week. But yeah, so turns out that person, if I'm not incorrect, was Jonah Hill. But I was talking to my friend about it, and I was like, yeah, and he was at this gala, and, like, he was like, wait, you met Jonah Hill? And I was like, yeah, I did, actually. So I guess that was the last person I really, like, I was, like, trying to schmooze. I was in my element, and yeah. I guess it worked because we sat together and chatted for a minute. All right. Growing up, when did you feel the most different from other kids? Oh my god. All the time. I'm not like other preschoolers. I'm quirky. I'm clumsy. But, I suppose I grew up in a very rural area. There wasn't a lot of education, and there wasn't a lot of diversity, even not just within, like, the traditional, like, labeling sense, but in the opportunities and the things that were brought from other places that we really didn't have. It was kind of a sheltered, bubbly environment, but I'm really grateful my parents pushed me out of that as much as they could with the resources and things that they could find, and it was beautiful because I discovered this whole world, and it was like seeing color for the first time. And then I went back to my classroom and I was like, why is everyone seeing black and white? So obviously I grew up and I didn't want kids. I didn't want to go work the same job my parents did. I didn't want to stay in the area. As a kid, I wanted to be, you know, like an astronaut, and like I'd still be down for that. If Katy Perry can do it, you know, I've already done one of her music videos. I can, well, technically Hot and Cold and Part of Me, yeah. I could do that one, but all that to say, it's weird when you grow up and you have these like big ambitions that are so different than the people around you, because it feels like am I wrong for like wanting this and striving for all of this when there's a status quo I'm not living up to, and I don't like to hunt and fish. I just kind of like to... Hello, tinnitus. Sorry about that one. One moment, folks. Technical difficulties. And we're back. But yeah, as I was saying, it was pretty much just growing up and not being in the status quo of like, am I doing something wrong? And now looking back, I have maintained friendships with so many people from back home, and to see, I guess, how far we all went, and also how far I went when the odds were like never going to make it. It's crazy, and I'm really proud of us, and having those ambitions wasn't wrong. I was just in too small of a pond to be, again, in somewhere that's conducive for growth and for a environment that stimulates me. So yeah, I think that's when I felt the most different. It's just kind of like in school where I was like, hey guys, I promise I'm not weird. I just want to like really info dump about NASA for like 2 hours. No reason. All right, and for our last one, for level 1, we have, when was a time you chose yourself? Ooh, I mean, obviously there was that time I talked about before, but I think, another big part of it was becoming disabled. I was in a training accident, and it caused some pretty severe things. I walk with a cane now, and when you're 21 years old and you walk with a cane, that's kind of a crazy concept to someone, because no one wakes up and is like, I think I'll become disabled today. But it truly is like the one group that you will never be, for the most part, you'll never like be born into. Again, for the most part, you'll just wake up and something will happen, and then your life is changed. And of course, me being someone who loved like physical exercise and being a tough guy and all that stuff, despite, I know I'm tiny, I've always been tiny, but it was like, damn, what do I do with my life now? And I really had to peel back my identity from what the military had given me as like, this is my new identity, like strong, independent woman who don't need no man. Still am, maybe not the woman part, but like I had to like ask myself, first of all, who am I? Like beneath not just like my training and my job that I put so much of an identity into, because it did save me from a bad situation, but also that bad situation that had taken so much from me and so much from like when I look at like Baby Sarver, like that I just didn't see anymore. I wasn't creating things, I wasn't exploring things, and I was just really stuck in this rut for so long. And then it hit me, like, it's a thing of discovery, and if I'm out here in the world doing all these adventures, why can't I go internal, or at least take what's external and judge it based on the internal? So that was the time I started choosing myself, and I started kind of having that wake-up moment of like, oh shit, this was a big life-changing event. Really more severe consequences could have occurred, and I'm really glad I'm alive, and I'm really glad I made it through, and I still have use of my arms, and I still have access to adaptive equipment and the medicines that help me. And like, I need to make the best of my situation, because I never know, you know, when. Actually, it's like, I saw this commentary on the end of The Good Place, and it's like, things have value because they end, and that kind of woke me up as like, oh my god, every day is a blessing because I'm waking up in it, and some days I have the energy to go out in the world and do these crazy things, but every day I get to wake up next to my husband, and I get to see my 2 loving and idiotic dogs, not Zoe, but Dakota. She's our foster, she's learning. And my Beardy and my snake, and I get to call my parents and my friends, and I get to create art, or at minimal learn things online and through TV and stuff, and through my college. And yeah, it just kind of, that's a time I've started to learn to choose myself, and it's an ongoing process. You kind of got to look at your decisions as, I'm consciously choosing myself. It's not something that comes naturally, I think, for most people. It's a skill that you learn, and it's muscle memory, truly. So that's the blast from the past section. And here's level 2. This is present. Who would have guessed? All right. What's one thing you can always count on yourself for? The lulz, honestly. I know that's kind of like a joke answer, but literally. But for real, it's having that mentality of just perseverance. And it's like, if I can laugh at something, it's not this big overarching thing. It's something I can laugh at. And having that power to look at these obstacles and being like, I'm Arabella, of course I can do this. Or this isn't this big of a deal, you know, and to take things both seriously and lightly. To give things the respect that they need for me to address them, and perhaps if they've earned, but also lightly in the sense that it's very rarely ever that serious. And even in those situations that are that serious and more, there are things you can point out, and laughter is such a way that has kept my soul and my fire alive through super hard circumstances. So definitely the lulz, I guess. Question number 2, what parts of yourself do you feel the need to protect? Emotional vulnerability, honestly. My feelings are, you know, not trying to be like, facts don't care about your feelings. Cry, you gonna cry, but I triple dog dare ya. But I still have this like slight defensiveness of like letting people in and being like, hey, I'm a person, I feel emotions. Crazy, right? It's like we evolutionarily designed to do this. But I think that's definitely something I'm still like nurturing, is like letting myself know like it's safe. You're gonna be okay. The people in your life you have determined love you, and have had multiple other people confirm that, and you're never too far gone where you have to stick around someone if they don't share that love and they don't accept me and my feelings and my messy moments and my really awesome moments. So that's something I'm still learning to do, is to calm my tits a bit and let other people in to see not only the external me that's like very big and boisterous and loud and but also the quiet me that, you know, sometimes needs a good wank and a cry. Or probably just food. I was so pissy this morning, and then my husband's like, do you want to go get burritos? And I'm like, and I feel great now because there's calories in my system. And I decided that, we didn't need to go to the grocery store and get little snacks and little treats. We did. We're gonna do that after I'm done recording, once I go wake him up. What's one thing you like about being you? Honestly, the chaos. I love having this attitude of like life is meant to be lived, and the more experiences you can have, the better you will be as a person, and the more, I guess, evolved your cognition will be, and the greater your appreciation of everything that was created around you is. So yeah, I think it's just getting to wake up and go on adventures and to see things not as like, oh my god, what if I fail? But to be like, yeah, I might fail at this, but is it failure if I learned something, if I had a good time, participation trophy, schlap. Just kidding. But yeah, that's something I like. How do you recover from a hard day? Hot bath, for sure. I mean, physically, it's the Epsom salt bath. That is like the chronically ill gold mine that I've recently discovered, is telling my husband like, hey, you want to take an Epsom salt bath? And it's great. And getting to take a bath after a few hot months of living somewhere where it's just like showers only, oh my god. I discovered the hot bath in college, and now it's become the hot bath of Epsom salts. I also like emotionally, I like to do like simple hobbies, like things that aren't these high stakes things, or maybe even not high stakes, but just high energy devotion time. So like maybe that doesn't mean performing or like making massive art pieces by commission. Maybe it just means like coloring, sketching for the hell of it, going on a walk, doing things for just the simple beauty of doing them, no other real reason. Also just learning to talk about it, and to talk about it constructively, to use the skills I've learned in and out of therapy to deconstruct the hard and the rough into things that are, rather than like negative inherently, into things that are acceptable. Things that I can come and learn to accept within myself and within others. So that's my biggest one. What do you no longer tell yourself? That other people's emotions and reactions are my responsibility. I had a big problem with this, where I was like in a relationship where I was not being treated very fairly. Every time something blew up, I was like, it's my fault. And even sometimes at work, if something went wrong, I'd be like, oh my god, I'm to blame. I am guilty for all the sins of humanity. I need to be like, I don't know, held accountable by the grand people that work at the Zaxby's that I am. But it's kind of something that it's like I had a friend who was in Alcoholics Anonymous therapy, and there's like the wheel of control, where it's like what you can control versus what's out of your control, like serenity prayer stuff. And that's not a resource that I use. However, it's a really fascinating way of like looking at things, and it's totally changed my perspective. And it's something that I've been using as well in my time when I worked as a mental health representative, and during the mental health things that I volunteer at, is trying to refocus on like how to empower yourself by focusing on what you can do about the situation, rather than like worrying about all the other pieces on the chessboard. Think about the one you are and your next move, not necessarily how everything's going to move and try and predict everything and control everything. Just focus on what's in your control, do what's in your control. And a part of what's in your control is self-care and emotional regulation and reaching out to people. So yeah, I believe it's never like, oh, just accept it. It is what it is. I fucking hate the phrase "it is what it is." But at the same time, I think that it is what it can be. And sometimes you do have to choose, like, am I going to use this scenario for empowerment and growth, or am I going to let it paralyze me? And that's something I had to work on today, actually. So it's an ongoing skill, but I try to tell myself, like, focus on what's in my control. I can't control anyone else's lives. Thank God. I can't even play Sims for an hour without getting stressed. I do not want to control anyone. Like, mind control would be like my least of the superpower like stuff. No, actually, that's probably like, this is a side note, but it's probably like the immortality one, because it's like, it's not indestructibility, it's just immortality. And it's like, I have to watch the heat death of the universe. And also, like, if I get a boo-boo that's pretty freaking bad, that would have otherwise been like a fatal wound, I just gotta live through that. Like, that's my life now. Like, but yeah, I think that or flying, because birds. All right, so next we have the future section. Who could have guessed? Oh, hey, chill out there. Sorry, my beardy saw this snake and was like not having it right now. So I'm letting her kind of snake down on my lap right now. All right, Who are you in the process of becoming? My highest self. No, but for real, I think I'm becoming a person, like, there's this quote that I've been, like, living, laughing, and loving recently, and it's, like, you become the person that would have saved you in that situation. And I think that I'm going to become that, but I'm also going to become, like, the person that 12-year-old me would think, like, shit, that's cool. And, like, when I was sneaking into a Spencer's to look at, like, overpriced emo band shit. I'm trying to become someone that is aligned with not only, like, the concept of my highest self, and that's not, like, in that girl boss, like, I need all the money in the world. It's also just, like, oh, man, I'm doing the interests, and I'm moving in a direction that's positive and that aligns with my values and my goals and my principles. But also, you know, just reconnecting with the person, you know, I was as a kid, and not trying to have this, like, I remember getting ready for back to school every year and being like, who am I going to be this year? Like, when am I going to get my makeover? And no matter what or who I tried to be, it never felt as good as when I was authentically myself and when I was in environments that allowed me to be authentically myself. So, and supported that too. Like, not just conducive, but, like, actively supporting. So that's very much where I'm at right now. That's what I'm trying to become, at least. Someone to make my bearded dragon proud on Father's Day. What do you need more of in your life? I think that's a good one. I think I genuinely just need more time. Like, not, like, in the sense of, like, I need more time to do everything. Like, not really to do everything. I think that time doesn't heal shit, first of all, but it does give more perspectives and experiences to base it off of. So I think that the longer, and this is kind of my biggest thing that I've always told people when, like, you know, like, suicide gets mentioned, is, like, the longer you stay around, if you are a betting person, if you would bet on odds, most of the time at least one good thing still happens, or at least one new thing happens. And that's kind of what I tell myself, not even in, like, extreme crisis, you know, mode or whatever, but also in, like, day-to-day life. Like, if I just keep going and moving forward and keep putting the work in to, like, my internal work, again, not just defined by your productivity, then, you know, I will continue to grow, and growth is what I'm focused on right now, is growth and healing, and I think those two things are, like, twin. They're tied together. So that's personally just time. And, you know, luckily, I have exactly as much time as I need, you know, inshallah. What do you trust will work out for you? Everything. And that sounds like really narcissistic, but hear me out here. I'm, you know, one of those people, I was raised on that on that verse where it's like, you know, everything will work out to the good of those that love God. And that's something that I've kind of internalized, is this mentality that it's not necessarily going to work out the way I want it to, or the way that I think I need it to, or the way that I think is best, but it's going to work out in the way that actually is best. Like, if I looked at every little instance in my life where I was like, this sucks, everything's going wrong, la la la, it's actually ended up being, like, not to be like a blessing in disguise, but it's been a catalyst for something else and something greater. So deep down, I like who I am right now, though, you know, even continuing when to evolve, two things can be true. I want to continue to evolve, and I really love myself right now. And I'm proud of the person I've become. My snake is trying to hide inside my desk chair. Gotcha. But I truly believe that, you know, without the events in my life, the good, the bad, the ugly, I wouldn't be who I am today. So I have to continue trusting that the things that are happening in and around my life, in and around the world, are there for a reason, and it's up to me and how I meet those circumstances. You know, how do I rise to those occasions in order to determine the future? So, I started with my hands. Are you okay, Noodle? Okay, Noodle's fine. But, yeah. She said she's camera shy today. One day I will blink and steal the moon. Sure, if it works out. One day I will. God, there's a lot of things I want to do with my life. And the issue with me is, like, I have clear defined goals, but, like, it's nothing that I'm not, for the most part, super flexible on. I'll say this, like, one day I will create positive change and opportunities in the area I came from, because when I grew up, a lot of the resources I had that should have just been, you know, installed, and in a lot of places still are, progress hadn't caught up that much. And now with the internet and connectivity being at an all-time high, and literally, like, I can pick up this little guy, and have answers to literally questions that would have blown people's minds. Like, imagine in the 1800s if you could look up, like, are women dumb because their brains are, like, dude, half of pseudoscience would not be a thing. Hopefully. I say that, and then I go on Facebook, and I'm like, maybe not. But all that to say, to create opportunities for people who also grew up in environments where there weren't all of the, big, new, exciting things in the world, to get a chance, and a fair chance at an education, a life, a career, a family, whatever success looks like to them and what they desire. I just want to be like, the person that gives them that push. They choose the direction. And giving people that autonomy, I think is pretty good. So one day I will create positive change in the area I came from. I'm keeping it vague because this is going on the internet, but Appalachian. What are you not willing to settle for? Anything. I will not accept a life I do not deserve. I say that only like half in jest because like I was getting married actually, and my husband's never seen Maxine at this point. I don't know if he has yet. I need to show him it. But like ever since I heard that, I was like, oh my God, that's such a valid like way to look at life, is like not just accepting and taking the piss, but actually waiting until you have, not accepting anything less than what you deserve. And deep down, I already put the card away, so I forgot the exact part. Oh, what are you not willing to settle for? I'm not willing to settle for a life that I don't deserve, or not even in an entitled way, but in a life that does not fit what I want. I'm not willing to, obviously compromise, and such is life, but at the same time, I'm not going to give up on these dreams and passions to make other people comfortable, or even myself like comfortable and never out of my comfort zone. Hello, beauty baby, you can chill. You're all good. Yeah, okay. No need to death stare. But yeah, so that is some of my questions, and they do have a final card, which I'm gonna do like a little short version of, because I'm not going to subject you all to another 30 minutes of rambling. And my husband and I were talking last night, and he was like, don't you know podcasts are like normally an hour? And I'm like, bro, this is a variable one. This is very much like in the old show, there would be times when it was literally like a 30-minute episode, if that. There were 15-minute episodes, and then there were like hours of just yap. So I think, hello, queen. That is my leg. We're going on 37 minutes right now. So the final prompt is to write a letter to your youngest self and tell them how you're doing. So I'm going to pick a number between 21, randomly generated, between 1 and 21, and I'm going to write a letter to 18-year-old me. Holy crap, I'm a baby. And I'm going to do it in a minute. Like, I have a minute to just air it out. And hopefully people watching this, if you want advice from yourself whenever you're going to be a 21-year-old with a ball python that is like bound and determined, like this part opens and she hid in it yesterday. Miss Girl is going through it, and by it I mean she just shed. So she's a moody teenager right now too, so maybe it's for her. But anyways, dear 18-year-old Arabella, it's probably the most exciting time of your life. Not in the full span of things, but to you right now, because you're free. You did it. You survived so much, and you won't know it until you get to where you're going. And I don't even know the full extent of it, but you're fucking brave for that shit. And not only are you brave, you're resilient. And that resiliency will carry you so much farther. If I could go back in time and tell you anything, I don't think I would change anything I've done in my life, because it led me to where I'm at today, and I'm very happy. But if I could tell you anything, it would be to not settle for anything that does not align with the life and the value that you have internally, and just naturally by being a human. You're doing good, but don't let the process of doing good be the thing that consumes you. You'll know when the time is right. You'll know what steps are right. You just have to have the bravery to take them. Don't take shit. Stop taking shit from people. Lovesies. That was perfect timing. But yeah, so that is my little introduction to the Hoedown. I'm trying to remember. I was like revived, revisited, reborn, resurrected. It's Easter. It is Easter in a few days. I'm on a Easter break right now from my job. But yeah, so this was my little revisit back to the Hoedown. Episodes will come as you do not need to look at your brother like that. She was mean mugging. You son of a bitch. She's my son, so I feel kind of, well, daughter of a, you get the point. You know, things will come as inspiration flows. I'm not going to be as hard and heavy about like 2 episodes every month. This might be a 1 episode month. This might be, I get really inspired one month and you just see a manic amount of episodes just pushed out. You'll see. We'll go on this journey together, and wherever it leaves, even if, let's say, for some reason, this is it. This is the big special, the Hoedown revisited one last time. Which it's not. I have plans for the future. Then I'm satisfied. You know, this is just another facet of my creativity, and it feels really good to be able to return to this as a more seasoned, as an old winch, an old childless maid that, you know, I think me, when I was recording on the same iPhone, well, not the exact same one, but same model of iPhone, I think I'd be proud of where I'm standing today. I think I'd kind of be like, what the hell? But you graduated, first of all. But yeah, thank you all for going on this journey with me, and I will see you next time. Don't know why I'm holding her like this. She's just snaking. Bye. Doodles.